Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel again. I'm going to take you guys through again information sources, but this is like more information about mm, in the information sources. I took you through the primary sources and the secondary sources. So here I'm going to take you through the examples, the purpose, and then the roles and all that, the reliabilities. Yeah, so let's start right away. Here you can see on the screen display there is more about information sources, and then the second slide, it's talking about examples. So yeah, I want to take you guys through the examples of information sources. First we have the primary sources, then on the other side we have secondary sources. So yeah, I was telling you guys about the examples of information sources. Um, yeah, here we can see the examples of primary sources. We have documents like historical documents, legal documents, diaries, yeah, and then we have creative works like novels or poems. We have histories like testimonies. We have artifacts like tools, clothing, and everyday objects. We have scientific data like trade data. And then on the side of secondary sources, we have books, journal articles, documentaries, essays, and reviews. Yeah, so those are the examples of both primary and secondary sources. And then I want to take you guys through the true purpose of information sources. Um, yeah, we have the purposes of the information sources. We have primary sources and secondary sources. So let us go through the primary sources first. It says it provides raw evidence. They are a research foundation. They insight into context and they provide direct connection. Basically, primary sources are sources of first-hand information. Yeah. And then secondary sources, we have contextualization. They synthesize information for a wider understanding. They interpret and analyze information. And then they provide a broader understanding. Like, yeah, because secondary sources are like simply, these are sources that, okay, like summarize primary sources. They are summarized. They just okay, it's like when you have primary information and then for the secondary sources of information, they're going to like interpret the information from the primary sources and they're going to like okay explain, okay, just basically summarizing, and they're going to provide a broader understanding. So that's another purpose of secondary sources. And then we are going to go to the role and time frame of information sources in research. Let's start right away with the primary sources. It says they are essential in fields that require original data or first-hand accounts. And then the second role and time frame says, okay, the first one was the role, sorry for that. The role of primary sources is that they are essential in fields that require original data or first-hand accounts. And then their time frame, it says primary sources are produced at the same time as the event or process being studied. That is simple, and I guess you guys can all understand that. And then the role and time frame of secondary sources. The role of secondary sources is that they are used to support or critique primary sources. And then the time frame, secondary sources are usually written after the time of the event. I'm sure you guys understand that. And now let's go to the reliability of the information sources. Reliability of primary sources. Okay, yeah, it's talking about the strength and challenges of primary sources. The strength is that primary sources provide direct evidence, making them valuable for obtaining unaltered facts. And then the challenge of primary sources is that, yeah, they are reliable, but they may be deceptive as well, biased, or even incomplete. And then we have the strength for secondary sources is that they offer interpretation and clarity of primary sources. And then the challenge of secondary sources is that they are analyzed from primary sources. Hence, therefore, someone may get wrong interpretation of the primary materials. Like, yeah, this information sources, the secondary sources, yeah, they are analyzed from primary sources. Like secondary sources are like an interpretation of primary sources. So when you're using a secondary source, you may get a wrong interpretation of the material, like of the information given, because it's not a first-hand information. Now, I want to take you guys through what they call the pros and the cons of information sources. Let's start right out with the pros of primary sources. Mm, yeah, when we talk about pros and cons, pros is okay, a synonym or another word to mean pros is like advantages or the positive side, and then cons can simply mean, cons is an opposite of pros, and cons simply means the disadvantages or the bad sides of information sources. So let's start right away with the pros or the advantages of primary sources. The first point says that they offer direct access. That's an advantage, and then they provide authenticity. Yeah, that's the second point. And then it says they facilitate new insights. Those are the advantages of primary sources. Now, when we come to the disadvantages of primary sources, point one says they often require interpretation and contextual knowledge. Yeah, like you're going to have to use your brain to interpret. So that's something everyone wouldn't want. So it's like a bad side of primary sources. And then it says primary sources can be incomplete or biased. Again. And then the next point concerning disadvantages of primary sources, it says primary sources may be difficult to analyze without background. So those are the pros and cons, or the advantages and disadvantages of primary sources. Now we are moving on to secondary sources. We're going to talk about its advantages and disadvantages as well. So yeah, let's start right away with them. First are the advantages of secondary sources. It says secondary sources provide critical analysis and they are easier to access and understand. So yeah, those are the few advantages of secondary sources we have. Yeah, so I was taking you guys through the advantages. Now I want to take you guys through the disadvantages of secondary sources. Secondary sources can like bring misinterpretations, yeah, or even biases. Like it has a similar disadvantage to primary sources. Primary sources, sorry, which says can be incomplete or biased. Now, secondary sources can also like make you misinterpret the information, or you can get biased as well. So yeah, that's a similarity in primary and secondary sources when it comes to disadvantages. Then another disadvantage of secondary sources is like there are second-hand accounts, so they can lack the immediacy of primary sources. Yeah, that's another disadvantage of the secondary sources. Now, I've taken you guys through the examples and the roles, the strength, the advantages, the disadvantages, the reliability, the challenges and all that. I hope you guys have learned. Yeah. So I know when it comes to information sources, you guys are now well equipped and you have the right information in that. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for going through the video. I hope you like it and you share with your other friends. I hope to see you guys in my next videos. Yeah. Bye.